I am live. How you doing, guys? Once again, it's Eric from rulethewasteland.com, aka the Lord Humongous. Got a few things I wanted to go over today while we get some people rolling in. The first thing is that YouTube has been incredibly bad about notifying my subscribers of my uploads. If it's either that or they're legitimately, shadow banning or blocking me for some particular reason. But like my last video, I have just over 40,000 subscribers now. My last video about the target stand that I did and how to make one, it in the first like 48 hours, it's only gotten like 250 views, which I just refuse to believe that if 40,000 people had seen that a video was uploaded, only 0.5% of people who had chosen to subscribe to me would watch that video within the first couple days. It's incredibly low, so it's really annoying. Make sure you click on the notification bell beneath all my videos. And also, this is one of the new things I'm going to start doing, is I want everyone to sign up for my email list, and I'm just going to shoot out an email every time I upload a video, or at least most of the time. If I have a new one coming out, I'll shoot it up. If it's something minor, maybe I won't mention it, but at least just to keep everyone updated on the fact that I am uploading videos, because I've had people come on and comment on some of my videos saying that they had been like, oh, I wonder what the Lord Among Us has been up to lately. I haven't seen a video from him in months. And then go on my channel to find out that I've been making videos a few times a week for that entire time period, and they just never got it in their subscription feed or anything like that. So a lot of shenanigans going on. The whole notification bell is dumb to begin with, because the whole point of subscribing to someone on YouTube is so that you see their activity in your feed. So if they're not going to show your activity into your feed, why are you subscribed? Now you have to subscribe to which of your subscribers you want to. It's dumb. So go on the website, rulethewasteland.com. You can sign up on the sidebar for the email list there. It's also a link now in most of my new videos, my recent videos, has the ability to sign up for the email list. So just jump on there, because I'm going to start, and I'm going to start giving stuff away on the email list too, at least once a month. So for coming up for this month, probably by the end of October, I'm going to give away the choice of either this Black Rifle Coffee Company mug. It says coffee or die on the back, brand new. Only been graced with my gentle touch, no one else's other than the people who made it. And you will get that, or the choice of this BattleTac self-defense tool, pen-like self-defense tool, like a Kubotan sort of thing. I don't know exactly what you would call that. So you get the choice of those two. If you're signed up for the email list, I'll randomly select someone. I haven't exactly determined how I'm going to select someone from the email list, but I'll figure that out within the next couple of weeks or next week or so. So get on the email list. You can get there on the rulethewasteland.com or in the links to, or in the description beneath most of my videos. So SBQR says, YouTube leadership have made it clear they're trying to shift to a TV style and they're deliberately suppressing any content they don't like. They're doing this manually and automatically. I agree. And it's just bizarre, because I don't have a particularly political channel. Yeah, I have dealt with that stuff in the past, but it's just bizarre to see the extent to which it's happening. Like, it's crazy. It's pretty frustrating. So also, they did start, speaking of YouTube, they started this new thing called Premiere, where you can, certain channels, I don't know if it's every channel, I have the option to do it because I have, a few tens of thousands of subscribers, so it's probably a beta testing for some of the medium-sized channels and up, but it gives you the ability to upload a video and then choose a time for it to go live, and then it notifies people that, hey, this video is coming up. So I tried that with a video that's going to go live tomorrow about mean comments on my videos. So we'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll give people a little more time to know that this video is coming up and actually watch it. We'll see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, then I'll just won't ever use it. It doesn't really change anything other than the fact that, kind of like when I schedule a live stream, it just notifies you ahead of time that this is coming up, so you can be there to watch it within the first few hours or first day or whatever. And after that, it's just like every other video. You have the ability to kind of chat in the sidebar while you're waiting for it, and I think during the video while it's playing through the first time. But after that, it's just like every other video on my channel. You can go back and watch and everything like that. So there's no particular advantage to as a viewer to watching the video early versus, you know, seeing it whenever, other than you can chat live. And I'll try to be there to chat also for the first run through of these videos that I schedule, if I continue to do it in the first place. We'll see how this one goes. So I scheduled the next one for tomorrow, I think at like 5 o'clock Pacific time, I think. Or maybe I put it for noon. I think I put it for noon, which would be 3 o'clock Eastern time. It's going pretty good, Caleb. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, YouTube is definitely taking away a lot of what made it popular and good, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, they demonetized that. Yeah, luckily I haven't got hit too bad with the demonetizations, unless I hit, you know, the political stuff, but for just the prepping stuff, and even the ones that feature guns, I haven't had most of those demonetized yet. It seems random. It's kind of algorithm based, and my channel isn't that big enough yet that, you know, the people are complaining about it or trying to get me in trouble. So I've had a couple Kratom videos demonetized, and I've had a video that I made about the Remington recall, about getting the trigger replaced. That one was demonetized. But some of the ones that have shown me shooting and stuff like that, those haven't been. Certainly the ones talking about guns and, you know, best guns for shit to fan, those haven't yet been monetized or demonetized. So I've gotten lucky with the demonetization so far, but who knows how long it's going to last. That's why I started Patreon, but it doesn't seem to be getting too popular. But what they have been getting me with is just strangling the views and strangling the notifications, to where I'm getting less views on my average video now than I was when I had like half as many subscribers, which is really bizarre. And to me is an obvious sign of it's on their end. It's not something that I'm doing. I mean, I have screenshots of the actual analytics data that shows the percentage of my views that come from random people searches versus videos that are suggested in the sidebar. And it's dropped. It used to be that almost 70% of my views came from being shown to other people as suggested videos. Now it's around 50%. So it's a pretty significant decrease in that metric. And it's one that I obviously have no control over. And nothing I've changed about my videos, you know, should have accounted for that. I tried what? Just in time prepping. How you doing? Let's see. Let's start reading the comments. Friend of yours tried the premiere, or what did the friend of yours try just in time? Solo oven turkey for Thanksgiving. I am not much of a chef, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of turkey. I love chicken, but I also am not a big fan of chicken breast. I like the dark meat, and to me, turkey is, you know, it's even worse. The white meat in turkey is even worse than the white meat in chicken in terms of how like dry it is. Even when it's made well and it's technically juicy, you know, it's not dried out. It's just doesn't have a whole lot of flavor to it. I like the greasy dark meat, so I stick with chicken most of the time, and I don't bother cooking the whole turkey. I just buy rotisserie chickens. Yeah, Twitter has been extremely bad and extremely basically just, they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're shadow banning and just deleting. They basically went full on purge on people propagating the NPC meme, which is just shows you how they really hate that meme. It so nails their whole just ideology and everything. I do like duck a lot. Duck is exactly the opposite of turkey, where it's really kind of greasy and dark meaty kind of flavor to it. And I really like that. And I would eat duck a lot more often if it was just more readily available or cheaper or anything like that, because I've really liked duck every time I've had it. Yeah, you know, support Trump. You know, I'm a proud warrior of the God Emperor, Donald J. Trump. Got my hat up here. Bam. See how dusty it is from where? So yeah, for those of you who are just showing up, sign up for my email list on the website, rulethewasteland.com. It's in the sidebar or in the description beneath most of my recent videos. I'll be giving away some stuff like this mug, Black Rifle coffee mug, and this self-defense tool from BattleTech, from one of the battle boxes. And I'll be notifying you of my videos that are being released, since YouTube doesn't seem like they want to do that. Yeah, exactly. My channel for Mitch, that's the same thing that happened to my channel. It had been growing pretty steadily, and it's still growing. It is technically still growing. I do have a positive increase in subscribers every month on average, but it really just seemed to just stop dead compared to how the growth was before, while other channels have just rocketed past me. But you know, I can't blame that 100% on YouTube, because a lot of the channels that I'm seeing that are growing are other prepping channels also that are still doing well. So, you know, maybe some it's related to just every channel has a maximum kind of point that it's going to get to. Not everyone's going to get to 1 million subscribers. So that could just be the natural point for my channel. Who knows? But the videos being not shown is definitely something that they're doing. It's not has anything to do with me. All right. Yeah. Can't just go out and shoot ducks. There's not a lot of ducks around here anyway in the desert, but I would eat it. I love it. Is really good, really greasy. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, until we get some questions, is examples of everyday preparedness. I mentioned this on my Twitter account because I saw a video of this escalator in, I think it was Rome, that had gone totally out of control. It was a down escalator, the down half of an escalator in I think a subway station or a metro station or something like that. And it was shooting down. The stairs were going at like 20 miles an hour. And I love like fail videos and stuff like that. I'm kind of morbid and kind of a sick bastard. So to me, it was hilarious because all these people were just being like piled up at the bottom, being shot down this escalator at like 20 miles an hour. But it's a real world kind of thing that you should expect to have to deal with something crazy like that at some point in your life. And I always talk about how prepping isn't just about crazy shit in the fan. It's not just about Mad Max. It's not just about EMPs and nuclear war and all that stuff. Most of the time, the things that are going to happen to you that could affect your life negatively are going to be relatively kind of small, or at least incredibly localized events like this, like crazy stuff like this that happens, little accidents, localized weather, you know, in things that happen to you individually, car accidents, violent crime, stuff like that. That's the stuff that is much, much more likely to affect your life negatively if you aren't prepared than a major event like an economic collapse or an EMP or nuclear war. So these are the type of things you have to be ready for. So I posted on Twitter. I asked people what you would do in that situation. And would you be ready to help people in the aftermath if there's injuries? You know, what gear do you have on you that could help? What skills do you have on you that could help? Things like that. You need to slit your throat open. Your face is so gross. You should have waited to comment on my mean comments video. What did you pay for your jerry cans? These were on Amazon. I think they're about $35 a piece, and I think the metal ones were slightly more, but I got them on sale. I think from Sportsman's Guide. They're not the really, really good ones, but I think they were like 40 bucks. Do you think a big cigarette stash could be good for bartering? It depends. I mean, obviously that's something that a lot of people are going to be desperately after if there is some sort of major event, but they don't last forever. I mean, you could try to package them pretty well. They're expensive. So this is what I always say to people about bartering. Yeah, we're a big weed stash. Same thing kind of applies, but weed would probably store better, honestly, if you just vacuum seal a big bushel of it or something. But this is what I always say about trading things, is that there's things that you know you're going to need personally. And most of those things could also be traded in the event of some kind of, you know, situation that you're envisioning that you want to trade stuff. You know, anything serious enough, you're going to be trading stuff. Yeah, cigarettes might work, but other stuff would be food, coffee, all that stuff's going to be able to be traded too. So spend that money on the stuff that you could at least use if you don't end up trading it. There's no point in spending your resources on stuff just to trade unless you are completely squared away in everything you want to be squared away in for such a possible scenario. So like if you've chosen 6 months or a year as that's what you want to get prepping and you've finished all that, yeah, maybe you could throw away a couple cartons of cigarettes or some liquor. I would say alcohol would store better than cigarettes and probably be just as useful for trading, and it has a bunch of other useful purposes. So if you don't smoke, I would be very reluctant to spend any money on stashing cigarettes. It just doesn't make sense to me. There's plenty of other things that you could barter if you needed to. You could also use toilet paper, liquor, more food, even ammunition. I've made my thoughts known before on how I don't think it's a good idea to give away guns or ammunition, but there, you can certainly come across kindred spirits and friends and allies and things like that. So it's certainly more possible. But something that you don't use or wouldn't already be using, I wouldn't bother storing, even if it would be potentially good for trading, potentially valuable. What did I pay for my Jerry curls? This is just a little bit of a pomade in there. Other than that, it's all genetics. Yeah, weed lasts a long time, but like I said, there'd be no point in storing, especially if it would be illegal for you. That would be a terrible idea. But there's various places in the country where it wouldn't be illegal now. So I just wouldn't stash any unless you wanted it for yourself. And then if you wanted to decide to trade it, you could. What about batteries? Batteries definitely should be storing, but it just depends on, you should cycle through them because they don't last forever. But if you need to, just same thing, if you're talking about for barter, no Chick-fil-A today. I've been trying to cut back on the fast food stuff just for money, and I'm trying to avoid all sugar. I am having a cerveza here, but I've been eating pretty clean lately, with the exception of some pancakes from Legacy Foods, which I did a taste test on. Already filmed that video yesterday. That video will be going up, I guess, day after tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. So that's not really junk food, but it's a lot more sugar and, grains and processed stuff than I have been eating at all. Pretty much nowadays, all I have been eating is various kinds of meat: chicken, salmon, fish, ground beef, a lot of steak, a couple vegetables, a little bit of rice, green beans, some spinach, and eggs and bacon. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty much like all I eat. And that makes me feel like my body feels pretty good on that. Completely avoiding. For me, my main vice was cutting out the soda and just the occasional junk food, that I would get. And one thing that's helped me with that, honestly, is this stuff that I found. There's an empty can here called Zevia, which is basically seltzer water, but I can't stand seltzer water normally. But this has natural flavors used to make it taste like whatever various they have grape soda, they got like the Dr. Pepper version, they got the regular cola, and it's literally sweetened with just stevia, seltzer water, and natural flavoring. So there's 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial sweeteners, because I don't trust the stuff like aspartame and things like that. So that one's helped me kind of taper off drinking real soda. Are you on keto basically? I tried that for a little bit. So no, I'm not, because I eat rice and I eat way more than the 20 or to 25 or 30 grams of carbs. I tried that for a few days, and it's difficult, but it wasn't incredibly difficult for me personally in terms of cravings. What's difficult for me is like long-term looking at, if there are benefits to being in ketosis, then you would have to stay in ketosis. So you basically can't cheat, because if you break out of ketosis with even a beer or two, you basically have 48 hours to get back in the cycle. So if you have even a couple drinks with friends, even 2 nights a week, then it's not very realistic, or some real point to trying to stay strictly keto. You can still do low carb, and I do extremely low processed carbs. One of my rules is no corn syrup, no added or artificial sugars, and I stay away from pretty much all grains except for rice. And I'm not weird about it. If I go out to eat or something, I'm not like, but if 80-90% of your meals are following all those rules, no corn or corn syrup, no sugar, no added sugars, no processed grains, none of that shit, then your carbs are going to be pretty low naturally anyway. Like I'll eat green beans, and that has carbs in it. I do eat rice, which is probably the biggest source of carbs. My body seems to just work a little better having some carbs, but because I'm not a person who has struggled with weight before, and it seems to be that there are different, genetic groups of body types that react to this stuff differently, and people who just naturally tend to put on weight really easily tend to benefit better from a lower carb diet than like an extremely low carb ketogenic diet versus just a no processed carbs. Because getting rid of the bad stuff for me was a much bigger issue than trying to specifically eat certain foods. If you're just eating leafy green vegetables, stuff like green beans and spinach, and have meat, have eggs, stuff like that, then, and you cut out all the bad stuff, that's going to be pretty good. It's still going to be pretty low carb too. Don't you sell thermite or something? I do. Go to buythermite.com. You can check it out. Yeah, tonic water tastes really gross to me. How much emergency food do you store in the normal environment? 3 months? My goal is 6 months. I have less than 6 months now because when I moved out here, I got rid of my long-term storage food and have been planning on getting more long-term storage food to just put away. That's why I've been looking at legacy foods and trying their stuff out, because at some point within the next few months, I plan on getting up to 6 months, back up to 6 months for 2 people with their long-term food storage, where I can just kind of set it and forget it. Right now, I would guess I have probably 2.5 months. Maybe I could stretch it to probably 2 months, maybe stretch it to 2.5. So not nearly as much as I need to be. And I've been slowly building that back up. But I don't just want to build up more canned goods and stuff like that, because I haven't been eating as much of that, of like the beans and stuff. Pretty much don't eat beans at all anymore. And so having it in cans isn't the best way. I just want to be able to long-term storage, put it away for 20 years kind of deal. So that's why I'm testing out Legacy, because I think that they look like they'd be the one that I'm going to go for. And then as long as that goes well, which so far it has, I like the pancakes, which you'll see in the video, then I'll go ahead and get that. Get me back up to 6 months. Am I filming in my mom's basement right now? First of all, my mom lives in Florida, and there's pretty much no such thing as basements there. And no, this is it's actually not real brick. That is a cloth backdrop that I've been using for my videos before, and this is just a room in the house, in my house. It's just basically a guest bedroom, non-master bedroom that I've set up for a little bit of storage. Have my computer in here for doing my YouTube videos, for doing my eBay, for doing all that sort of stuff. Yep, add it on the some next mean comments video. All right, what else we got? If you were on a keto diet, we would know about it, because everyone on keto can't jump up. Yeah, exactly. Keto is sort of, and to me, that's sort of the difference, is that it and that's why I decided not to try to continue to do it longer than like a week or whatever. Is because I realized it's not even about that I don't think it would be good for you or whatever, because I think it can be. I think some people have shown that for them specifically, it's one of the best things. But it is definitely a lifestyle. And it would take a pretty significant lifestyle change for me to do a actually ketogenic diet versus just a low carb, no processed carb, no sugar type diet. Because like I said, you can't even go out and have a few drinks a couple times a week. You can't even have a scoop of rice. You can't have pretty much any fruit. You can't have almost any alcoholic beverages. You may be able to have one like really low carb beer or something like that. But alcohol, your body can use alcohol for energy the way it does carbs too. So it that can screw up the whole process as well. So it's just kind of like, is that kind of, so if you can't be doing it, actually doing it so that you're in ketosis, then you're not really doing keto anyway. So I'm like, so I might as well just go to a low processed carb, knock out all the crap, and then just eat fairly normal, but still, not a lot of carbs. Lots of Twinkies. Do you think shit will get crazy when the migrants get to the United States border? It certainly could, but there's a lot of shenanigans obviously going on with that. We're seeing Mexico actually appearing to try and stop them, at least. I don't know if it's theater. They at least got some cops busted up with these crowds, and so maybe they won't get to the border. And if they do, obviously things will get weird, but it's hard to say exactly what will happen. Do you store liquor? I do have liquor here. I don't specifically store a lot of extra, but I've built up a pretty decent supply of liquor and wine simply because the casinos around here have promotions where you can get free liquor and free wine like once a week at the one casino that I go to most often. If you do a certain amount of points, you can get a free bottle of either wine or liquor, whatever it is that week. And I do that pretty much every week because I bet on UFC and things like that. And I'm ahead anyway, so I'm also winning money on my UFC bets, and I get free wine and free liquor. So I've gotten a big stash from that, but it's not strictly speaking for preparedness purposes. But I definitely think it's good to have a few, handles of vodka specifically or whiskey set aside for preparedness, because it can be used as an antiseptic, it can be used as a fire starter or fuel, it can be used for trading, it can be used for drinking, it can be used for tinctures, it can be used for all different cleaning, it can be a solvent, stuff like that. It can be used for all sorts of stuff. So it's definitely not a bad idea. And it's something that if nothing ever happens, you can just slowly work through it or sell it. It'll last forever. So hard liquors will last indefinitely. Get a green screen, Drew. Yeah, I had a green screen, but it just doesn't, like, what am I going to put behind here that would really change the whole interaction here? Nothing really significant. You think this migrant mob is finally a good excuse to militarize the border? I mean, I hope that they lock down the border. I don't think it needs to be, strictly speaking, militarized. It just needs to be cut off. It just needs to actually have a border. When you don't have anything there, it's not a border. It's just a line on a map. I mean, technically speaking, it's legally still a border, but if there's nothing there to stop anyone, so we just need to build the wall. It needs to happen. What do you see as the priority? Protecting your wealth with metals or stocking up on stuff you might never need? I think the priority should probably be, like, if you have neither, you have no preparations and you have no gold or silver or anything like that, then I say you would need at least a 72-hour, 3-day to week-long prep kit of food and water, because you can survive without money, without gold and silver. You can't survive without water, without food, without some basic level of protection. So I would get at least up to that, week kind of a preps, which isn't very much at all. You're talking about 10 or 15 gallons of water. You're talking about, just a few days worth of food, maybe one gun, a couple basic hygiene items and stuff like that, maybe a flashlight, and you'll be good for like a week and things like that. Then after that, I think in most people's lives, having your finances squared away in terms of storing gold and silver and protecting your wealth is much more likely to be a big deal over the next 30 years than massive amounts of preps. I think it's important to do both, and that's why I focus on telling people to get to a specific prepping point. I think 3 months or 6 months of preps is plenty for most people. It will protect you in 99% of everything that could possibly be considered a shit hit the fan event that has ever happened. You'd be very well taken care of with 3 to 6 months worth of complete preparations. And then after that, focus on financial preparedness and just basic stuff that is going to be a big deal. You should check out Dr. Jason Fung's book about fasting. That's a lot to do with keto as well. Yeah, that's another thing. I do want to integrate intermittent fasting, because that seems to have it's a lot easier to integrate into a normal lifestyle. It does things like it just super boosts your growth hormone levels, and there's a lot of things in your body that are kind of counterintuitive. So for a lot of years, people would say, and it sounded like it would be correct, that if you don't eat for certain periods of time, like during the day or a day or two at a time, that it trains your body to kind of hold on to food, and that it slows your metabolism down and all these other things that just turned out aren't really true. In fact, if you it's somewhere between 16 to 21 hours of being fasted, a lot of things happen in your body that are really, really good in terms of muscle building and fat burning and things like that, like boosting certain hormone levels like growth hormone, stuff like that. And if you're still eating a normal amount of food, obviously the amount of food has to be enough to where you can maintain your muscle, you can build muscle and things like that. But if you're still eating a normal amount of calories, but you do it in a window as opposed to spread out throughout the entire day, it actually seems to be much more beneficial than eating certain small meals throughout the day. The exceptions to this would be if you are doing certain things, like if you're a professional athlete or something like that, it is possible that maximum performance levels are going to be higher if you're on, if you've just eaten carbs and stuff like that every few hours than if you haven't eaten for 12 hours. But for the normal person, or even someone who's just doing sports and doing activity, even fasted, the difference in the maximum amount of performance output is going to be so negligible or not even noticeable, because you're not near your peak anyway, that the benefits are definitely in favor of probably intermittent fasting. That's what at least it appears at this point. But yeah, so if you're a bodybuilder, professional bodybuilder, if you're a professional athlete, you're probably best served to eat constantly throughout the day, because your whole point is performance. Now, if your whole point is health, like staying lean and still keeping your muscle and stuff like that, and then intermittent fasting seems like it's a great option. So I'm researching that right now as how to do that in the best possible way. Even things about when the fast window is, should you eat first and then fast for the rest of the day, or should you wake up and fast all day until the end of the day, things like that. You can do both work, but there's a bunch of stuff to look at. So Air Force diet. All right. Like the son of these hard-boiled eggs. That was pretty cool, great info. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was really interesting to me because, first of all, it's easy. The Sun Oven has been fantastic, super easy, and it's really, as someone who doesn't cook very often, who doesn't like cooking, and who's not particularly good at it, it's really easy to mess things up. It's impossible to mess something up in the Sun Oven unless you are, not having it in the sun. But you can't really burn anything. It's really hard. There's a large windows of time for how, or a lot of leeway, let's say, for something to be turn out at least okay. And for preparedness purposes, obviously no fuel, no noise, no smoke, that is fantastic. Not having to use water, especially out here, is fantastic. To be able to cook things like normally you would use a whole tub of water to hard-boiled eggs, so to not have to use any water at all is fantastic. And that could be really beneficial in a serious disaster scenario, especially out here where water is at a premium. What did you bet on Khabib and McGregor? I told everyone that Khabib was most likely going to win, and if you want to make the bet, to bet on him because the line was crazy. It was Conor McGregor has so many fans that he it skews the lines, and I bet against him on the Mayweather fight, even though I really, really desperately wanted him to lose. It was a no-brainer, and I kind of viewed this fight as being the same way. He obviously had more of a shot at winning this fight than he did at winning the Mayweather fight. But the line was definitely in favor of the value was on Khabib. I did bet I think I bet $50 on Conor just because I was hoping he would win and I wanted to be loyal, but I did not expect him to win. And I was telling everyone else to bet on Khabib because I was fairly certain that he would win. So coming up, we can see what we got coming up for MMA. If we got any good deals. Free booze is the best booze. That's absolutely true, sir. And I've been getting a lot of it out here in Vegas. What's your idea on secure firearm storage? It depends. I mean, if you're talking about storage, then an anchored gun safe is probably the best way. Or a hidden anchored safe would be even better. If you're talking about storing something that you want to be able to get to in like in the middle of the night, bam, and maybe you have kids or something, then it becomes a little harder. You obviously have the gun safes that are electronic. You could have those special pieces of furniture that have a magnetic release or some sort of catch, things like that. But other than that sort of stuff, you just have to try and look at where, weigh the variables on how quickly it takes you to get to access the firearm, how difficult it is for other people to access it. Because usually the more difficult it is for other people to access it, the longer it will take you to get it as well, because it'll be a beefier kind of safe or box or whatever, or it'll have more layers that you'll have to get through and things like that. So, whereas if you just hide it, you can get to it really quickly, but then potentially something like a child could grab it as well. I don't live with any children or anybody that I'm worried about misbehaving with guns, so I don't have to worry about really, really thoroughly having them be very difficult to get to in a everyday situation. Do you conceal carry? What do you carry? I have yet to get my concealed carry license here. I'm working on that right now. Trying to get the one for Florida because I don't have to take the test, but I have to get physical fingerprints, which I've already got the cards right here. But for the out-of-state Florida permit, which is recognized in Nevada as well, you have to get physical fingerprints, which the police station here won't do. They only do the electronic ones. So now I have to try and see if I can either run across the border or maybe one of the, if there's a sheriff's station outside of Clark County, something like that, kind of be a pain in the ass. So what I've been carrying when I was in Florida was I had a Ruger LCP, was what I carried most often. Now I also have a Taurus Slim, PT 709, the Slim, which I will try carrying because it's 9mm, a little bigger. I also have a Ruger Ultra carry, a Kimber Ultra carry, which is concealable, but it's pretty heavy. I haven't really tried carrying that because I want to definitely start carrying more waistband than ankle. But so we'll give it a shot once I get my permit squared away. What is the strange one gun that you speak of? I don't know. Did I reference one gun? Because I certainly don't have one gun. I mean, now that all mine have been lost in an unfortunate boating accident, I am down to one. But, let's see if I missed any. Yeah, true to life background is perfect for the channel. I think so, and it gives me stuff to talk about. It's actually my preps. You know, it's not necessarily just a set. It's my real stuff. Good evening, just got home. Good evening, DD Prepper, always showing up. Yep, got my cerveza. I don't normally drink Sol, but they had I am a cheap bastard, and they had this like $5 off. The $5 off, I think, if you got 2 6-packs. So it made them less than $1 a piece, which is about as cheap as you can get decent beer, which I normally just drink Miller Lite or something. Just installed a door barricade floor type. Impressed. Yeah, those are great. I brought my On Guard door blocks with me here to Vegas. I haven't installed them in this place yet because it is just a rental, and I'm not sure how long we're going to be staying here. Just be sure that you replace the screws with like 3-inch lag screws if you can, because otherwise the door will just blast off its hinges, and even though it's blocked at the bottom, it can still fall inward. So that's another thing too. If you make sure you strengthen its attachment to the actual door jamb as well, and you'll be good to go. Yeah, I love my Kimber. As in terms of gun, I love that thing. It is, the capacity is its disadvantage, obviously. It's like a 6+1, but 45, sweet little gun. It's nice and heavy, so it, even being small on a 45, it shoots well, and it doesn't jump all over the place. But it does make it a little more complicated to carry because it is a heavier gun. Do you believe in getting out of Dodge or staying put? And also, do you prefer elevation or below ground for shit hit the fan scenario? I believe in, I'm like a kind of a hoarder type mentality, ensconce myself. So I don't see any particular reason to just leave for no reason. That doesn't make any sense to me. To me, bugging out is like ducking, you know, and you would say, when would you duck? Well, when something's flying at your face, you duck. Or like running away. It's like, when would you run away? Well, when there's something chasing you or something that's going to hurt you. And to me, bugging out's exactly the same. You don't just say, oh my God, you know, economic collapse, I'm going to run out into the woods or the desert or something. It doesn't make any sense. Now, you would leave when there's a reason to leave. If there's a major disaster coming your way weather-wise, if there is economic collapse and you see a zombie horde come over the horizon and they're ransacking every building that they come across and burning it to the ground, sure, bug out. If you see a mushroom cloud a mere 3 miles away, probably need to leave. If there is a massive, this is a real world example that I'll make a video about soon, if there is a massive tank derailment of propane cans that are about to blow up and level the entire city just like a nuclear bomb, then you have like 3 minutes to get out of there and you have to be ready to go. So it's obviously something that needs to be in your toolbox, but it's not something that you can just say, should you bug out or stay? Because it just depends. It's kind of like saying, should you use a wrench or a hammer? It's like, I don't know. What's the issue that we're trying to fix here? What are we fixing? You know, if you need to put a nail into a piece of wood, a wrench isn't going to work too well. If you need to, you know, get your car battery out and unloose a screw, then a hammer is going to be probably not a great tool. So that's how I view bugging out. As far as below ground, shit hit the fan scenario, I don't see any disadvantages to having a below ground shelter except for potential flooding. So, and you know, one exit kind of scenarios. So you are kind of trapping yourself in there if you are in some kind of a bomb shelter. But beyond those two considerations, if you have the ability to have like a basement that's shielded from nuclear stuff, obviously you get more ballistic protection if you're below ground. So there's a lot of good reason, you know, temperature's more controlled usually. So there's a lot of good reasons to have a below ground shelter, but it just depends on the scenario. There are some potential scenarios where it could work against you. Said if you're just starting out prepping, get one gun food, yada yada. Well, yeah, I'm talking about people who are just starting. I wasn't talking about myself or my fellow preppers here. I'm drinking Ice House, yeah. Ice House is you get those big 40s. That's the one gun reference. All right, I get it. What's up, Prepper Princess? Got the full chicken in the sun oven. I'm interested to see how that turns out. So don't think the sun is high enough in the sky to cook it completely. You asked in the last live stream. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like just the sun here in Vegas right now, and I imagine it's probably pretty similar for you in California. It's incredibly low in the sky right now compared to how it is in the summer. But I just cranked up the leg all the way. I actually put something under the foot to make it even more tilted, and then had to kind of like stop it. And then as long as you use that little plastic kind of sight thing on there to line the hole up, it should work just as well. You might have to move it a little more often because the sun is darting across the sky pretty quickly at that low level. But as long as you get the light to line up with those holes, it should work great. And you have to obviously have full sun. So What style of EDC knife should I carry? First of all, the first thing to look at is the local laws in your area. Some people will consider, a knife in your pocket concealed. I don't. I haven't been able to find any case law on that. But my thinking of it is, if you had to defend yourself in court, if a cop can see that you have a knife clip on you, that's not concealed. In the same way that if you had the handle of your gun poking out of your waistband, that's not a concealed weapon. You don't have to be able to tell what the knife is. If the cop says, "Hey, what is that, a knife in your pocket?" then that's not concealed. Whether or not that would work out that way from the cops or the courts, who knows? You'd have to look at, you could ask your sheriff, send them an anonymous email or something, and ask them if they have a policy on that, or try to find some case law. But that's the first thing, is to look into what's legal. So in a lot of areas, even in ones that are kind of strict, like California and stuff, they don't always have very much restrictions on open carrying knives. So that's why you'll see in shows like Sons of Anarchy, even in a state like California, which has incredibly restrictive gun laws and a lot of restrictions on concealing carrying things, you can just open carry like a K-bar on your belt, or any sort of big knife up to, maybe a machete size or something. Just read the laws. Same thing out here in Vegas. You can open carry pretty much anything, but to conceal carry a knife without getting a specific permit, it's much, much more restricted. So that's the first thing, is to find out what's legal for you to either carry or conceal carry. And I try to do one that you can do both, because there's a lot of opportunities where you might just want to slip the knife down inside your pocket, or if you have it in your pocket but have like a button-down shirt, like a short sleeve button-down shirt, and it covers your pocket, that could be considered concealed depending on what jurisdictions and stuff. So I would go, like, one of the things that I like, this little knife here, it's a Spyderco. It's slip joint. It doesn't technically lock. So this little knife is going to be legal in most areas in the United States. It's not assisted opening. It's not a lock blade. It only has like a 2 3/4 inch blade or something like that. So this is legal even to be concealed most places in the country. So if I know I'm not going to have to worry about concealed carry, I go with something a lot bigger. This Spyderco, another just a larger model, I like a lot. I've been a big fan of the Cold Steel Vaquero XL for self-defense. One of the best general purpose knives is the Ontario Rat Folder. And I think I have one in here. Let me see if I can find it. I'll show you guys. If not, I won't spend too much time digging around. But I know I have one in here. Where did we go? Got a lot of knives now. It's fantastic. Maybe you're not going to be able to find it. Here we go. This is a good knife that I always recommend for everyone because it's very cheap for how good it is. It's got a very basic. I prefer the ones that have the slight serrations. There's two models. One has a portion of serration here. That's the one I would recommend you get because it's very good for cutting through stuff like rope and seatbelts. And this is just a very normal looking knife. Doesn't look like you're trying to be Rambo or something if the cops have to pull it out of your pocket or anything like that. It's still going to be legal in most areas, but you do have to check your laws. It's cheap, it's solid, and it'll work well for self-defense and for just kind of actual use, for cutting things. And it's just a fantastic knife for the price. So that's a good one. I recommend that. Spyderco, Benchmade, Cold Steel, and just work with what's legal and what you like. Have you seen the military type perimeter tripwires alarm on YouTube? Use 22 cal primers or 12 gauge blanks. I have seen those. Those are pretty cool. I actually have a little one that my dad sent me that it just sets off an alarm. It's like a string pulls out and it goes, beep, 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 beep. Those are useful too. They have others that will break a light stick, and so it starts glowing silently. That's pretty cool. So there's a lot of options for stuff like that. Pepper Princess tried putting a brick under the foot of my dog. He keeps knocking it up. Well, yeah, there's a big juicy chicken inside. Can't let him outside with that thing. One of the things I'm looking at making for my sun oven is to get an old, I'm trying to find someone, keep checking on all the Swift Swap groups and stuff, for someone who has a broken footstool, just a ratty one with a torn seat or whatever, a swivel stool, taking all the upholstery off of it, take the back off it, just putting a piece of plywood on the stool so then it'll be off the ground so the dogs and stuff won't mess with it. And then the platform you can just turn, instead of having to scrape the thing on the ground, I'll just be able to turn it, the top of the stool, to face the sun. So I'm going to build that next. I think this is the Tenacious, yeah, but I like the Spyderco Tenacious. So yeah, you can't let Rocky go eat your juicy chicken. I have a Rat 1 at the D2 Steel in my pocket right now. Right on. Yeah, I know SPQR. I know you and I have talked about those a lot in terms of the price and the performance and everything. It's hard to beat these things. They're like $28 to $32 brand new in most places. I've used them as a daily carry knife for probably 5 years straight back in Florida. Fantastic knives. Fantastic. Kukris are really cool. They're basically a machete, obviously. You can get the kukri-shaped blade. The cool thing about the kukris is they're kind of forward-weighted, so it makes it easier to chop. And also, they've got a good belly on it, and combined with the curve, the chopping portion always reaches before your hand, so you're not in any risk of, getting your hand in the way of hitting anything. And it just is good leverage, and the interior curved portion gives you a good ability for more control with shaving and, whittling type actions more so than a big machete. Yeah, I haven't tried the stool thing yet, but that's what I'm looking. I'm just too cheap, and I know you can appreciate that. So I don't want to go buy a good stool. I know this is one of those things that you see everywhere by the side of the road. Until now that I'm looking for one, I can't find a broken stool. But I'm thinking, even something like a Lazy Susan or anything like that I can just affix to some kind of stand and then just tilt it. Because that's the only thing so far that with the Sun Oven that I could ever see wearing down on it, even after 30 years or something, is at the bottom. I've set it out there on my back patio kind of concrete, and just scraping it a little bit back and forth could eventually wear it down. So eliminating that, and it'll eliminate pretty much all the wear and tear on the thing. So sorry your Wi-Fi is buffering. Thanks for watching, William. We'll talk to you later. $22 on eBay for these? Yeah, so definitely look into those. Fantastic for the price. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Bitcoin, I made a few bucks in cryptocurrency. My girlfriend made thousands of dollars on some cryptos. And I think that they could certainly go up from here. I don't think that I think they're here to stay. Let's put it that way. But I also don't necessarily think that it's some panacea, that it's just, some people are just religious about it almost. And I think that it'd be fantastic to put some money in it if it's not your main investment. Like the way I think people should invest is have like 70 or probably like 80 or 90% of their money in a good diversified things that are just sort of boring and normal, and then having 5 to 10% or so of stuff like that they just want to speculate on. Because it's dumb to say that, no one should have ever gotten invested in Bitcoin. You could lose it at any time. People made millions of dollars off of it. And it's stupid also to say that you should, max out your credit cards and put it in Bitcoin. That's dumb. But there's no reason why you shouldn't take some of your money and put it in things that you think could be dramatic. And I could certainly see in upcoming times of economic turmoil, when the dollar does start to falter, I think cryptos will go way up, at least initially. Anything that's not the dollar will go way up. So that also means gold and silver, but cryptocurrency certainly will go way up. That's my opinion, at least. Have 4 kukris and I love them. Hacked through Florida jungle for decades. Same here. Yeah, I've been blasting around with kukris for a while. Handmade in Nepal. Awesome. Yeah, that's the true Gurkhas. You and Prepper Princess should do a Google Hangout. Would be great. Yeah, we should do that sometimes. We're actually not that far from each other. We should just do a literal hangout in a desert live stream somewhere. Thoughts on SW9SD instead of a Glock? Is that the Smith & Wesson? I haven't used their 9mm. I just know that Glocks, I always recommend them to people because, like I say, they're like the Toyota Corolla of firearms. There's nothing really sexy about them per se. They're just kind of basic, straightforward guns, but there's literally nothing wrong with them. You get a lot of value for the price. The only real, I would say, issue with them is that for some beginners, you might want to start with a gun that has an external safety, just because you'll be more comfortable with it. You'll be less prone to make certain mistakes or Plaxico yourself, so to speak. And what I'm referencing there is the Plaxico Burress, the I guess football player, and this has happened several times with Glocks. This is the disadvantage of having guns that as soon as you grab it, it can go off. Is that he had it just stuck inside his waistband of his like basketball shorts or whatever, or sweatpants, like gangster style, and it fell down inside and started to slide down his leg inside his pants. And so he just grabbed it on the outside, but his finger just going through pulled the trigger and shot himself in the leg. And then even more recently, we saw that FBI agent who did a backflip in the club and his gun fell out. And it would have just been an embarrassing kind of faux pas. Probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble for that. He reached for it, pawed at it because he's, oh shit, grabbed the gun, bam, it goes off and shoots someone in the foot. Now he's got criminal charges, almost certainly fired. So it is there. That is the only kind of a disadvantage, or it's not even a disadvantage, it's a consideration. Because in a live situation where you need to get it ready and go to town, not having to fumble with the safety or worry about whether the safety's on or anything like that could save you precious microseconds. So it's just something to consider. Yeah, cool. Let me know next time you're up here in the area. LB is cool. I like it. Smith & Wesson 9SD is an underrated gun by just by a metal guide rod spring, because the one that comes with it is plastic. Yeah, there's a couple guns like that if you just do one little tweak here and there, they become fantastic. All right, see you later, SPQR. The FBI agent in Denver? Yeah, I believe it was in Denver. And that's unfortunate because, the guy didn't really do anything. I mean, obviously doing backflips when you got a gun in a holster that doesn't have complete retention is probably not the best idea. But it wasn't like he did something completely boneheaded and other than just forget for a second that he was carrying. But he didn't do anything, like morally of moral turpitude, let's put it that way. And it just so happened that just because of the way he grabbed at the gun, frantically shot it off. Because I would guess that if the gun had not gone off and he just grabbed it, stuck it back in his holster and skedaddled, that he just would have gotten, the mother of all ass chewings by his chain of command, but probably wouldn't have gotten fired and certainly wouldn't have gotten criminal charges. So that would be my guess anyway, but I'm not sure. Either way, it's bad news. So I feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, like when you're carrying a weapon, that's the type of stuff you have to consider. And a lot of people always talk about, like anti-gun people talk about how when people are carrying guns, it's just going to turn into mad shootouts and stuff like that. And that's not the case, because most people who carry guns are considering, like, man, if this happens, I've got a gun on me. I can't just like wrestle this guy. What if my gun falls out? What do I, So can't get into any fights because it's automatically becomes a gunfight then. But you do have to consider things like that, like, oh, if I hop over this little wall, or if I jog to catch a bus, is this thing going to pop out? If I hug someone, are they going to feel and freak out? All sorts of weird considerations that you have to make when you're carrying, and that's just something that you have to think about. Probably can't be doing any backflips in the club, so that's very unfortunate. I definitely feel bad for that guy. I believe he was fired. I mean, there were criminal charges pressed for some kind of negligence or negligent endangerment or something like that. And I can't imagine you could be an FBI agent after that. So, but hopefully it worked out for him. Yeah, my Ruger P89, forget the model number, the 9mm version of the Ruger P90 also has the decocker. It has no safety, but it has the manual decocker. Glock is a 5-pound trigger pull. Beretta M9 a 13-pound trigger pull, single or double. Yeah, I don't like the really heavy trigger pulls. I think it messes up my accuracy. But more so than the heavy trigger pulls, I really don't like long trigger pulls. I don't have incredibly large hands. I have just normal sized hands, medium or large in most things. And I don't like having to pull way, way far on these guns. Yeah, I've seen some crazy torture tests that they've done to the Glock. They're definitely solid guns. That's why I always recommend them to people. It's just a basic, when they're like, oh, I don't know what to, start with a Glock. If you have no idea what to do, just start with a Glock. And if you like it, you've got a good gun. Their parts and stuff are readily available for them. They're going to last a long time. One of the things I've been telling people lately is that the police surplus, and I'm going to grab one of these soon, the police surplus Glock, I had 22s, the 40 cals. I think I said 22. You can get them barely used for like $300, which is like half price. And they're just ones that maybe been carried for a while. Some of them haven't even been fired. So you can get like a $500 or $600 gun for $300. And it's a good gun. They're the 4th gen or whatever. What are your thoughts on countries selling off U.S. debt? You hear headlines about this every so often. And for years, it's been happening. It's all, but they're still buying some. Eventually, it's going to happen. And it's one of those things that is meaningless until it reaches that threshold, kind of like inflation, to where it's just been happening for the entirety of the U.S. economic system. We have inflation, and it's not good, but it's not going to cause any drastic shift the fan type stuff until it reaches some certain threshold, which is mostly determined by how people and other countries react to it. And the selling off the U.S. debt is the same thing. It could instantly become a massive disaster at any point if it reaches that threshold, but we have no way of knowing what that exact threshold will be, when it will happen. I think it's going to take a few more years before that becomes an issue. Once they start working in all these other bilateral trade deals and different types of SDR type currencies, these basket currencies that they use for international trade. But the big one is like the oil trade being denominated in dollars, being the international currency for oil trade. If that ever changes, stuff like that, that's going to what's caused the big problem. Thoughts on revolvers? I like revolvers. They're fun to shoot, but in terms of just overall, I think the advantage is with the automatics. The failure rate for automatics is so low that even the fact that revolvers are more reliable and don't have quite as often have catastrophic failures, you're still talking about taking a fraction of a percent of each time you pull the trigger and then cutting it in half. So it's kind of like saying wearing a helmet when you're driving in your car. Does that make you safer? Sure. Is it enough to justify the pain in the ass and the decreased vision and stuff like that? Probably not. So unless you're in a situation where you're looking for something very specific, like some specific issue that you're trying to avoid from automatics, then I'd say the increased capacity, increased ability to reload quickly is just a huge advantage. Now, if you were going to throw a gun into a burial vault or something like that, then maybe you were for 20 years and you were going to worry about springs and things like that and the magazines freezing up or getting corroded or whatever, maybe a couple revolvers there would be a better plan, But just in terms of a main carry piece, I think the advantage is definitely with revolvers. In Florida, we would go before an emergency and an FDL shooting investigation. At best, one-way ticket to Deskville. Before an agency. Oh, you mean if you had an ND? Yeah, Deskville, exactly. Like I said, hopefully the guy would not get fired per se, but he would definitely be on the shit list for a while, no question. Accidental discharges are just a big deal, and because they're a huge liability for sure, and especially if it's out in public like that and on video. I mean, I have to imagine that if the whole thing wasn't on video, they may have done a little bit more to, they might not have pressed charges against the guy or whatever. Hard to say. Maybe the FBI, who knows? I don't know. It depends on the interaction between the feds and that particular law enforcement agency. Maybe there's bad blood there already. Maybe they just said, no, this is a crime. We have to treat it like this, and that makes sense too. So it's hard to say. But like I said, I just feel bad for that guy because that's something that I just feel bad because no one's perfect. Everyone does boneheaded stuff every now and then. And when it's not motivated by anything other than just a momentary lapse of judgment, it wasn't something that he did maliciously. Just like when people leave their kids in the car to go and like they're driving to work and they're zoned out and they accidentally, I feel so bad for those people because that's something that, I don't know how people can assume that would never happen to them, because I can see exactly how something like that would happen. I don't think I would ever do it, but I can see how it would happen. And same with this situation. I don't think I would ever do anything like that. I wouldn't be doing backflips and stuff with my firearm on, but I can see how it would happen. And and I feel bad for that guy. So hopefully it worked out. But all right, anyone else got any questions? We're getting to be about the hour part. Oh, here's a couple of questions I want to go over. I've been thinking more and more about making some kind of book, just because I have a lot of stuff I'd like to put in a prepper book, and when I'm seeing all the books that are out there, I don't see exactly what I would necessarily be looking for in a book. And that's what my threshold is. I didn't want to ever just make any sort of prepping or preparedness book just to make one, just to have something to sell, just to have my name on a book. But yeah, exactly right. Probably. But unsecured, who knows? I'm assuming it was in his holster, but I wouldn't be doing backflips no matter what kind of holster I had on. It's just not a great idea. In fact, I wouldn't probably even, I believe they encourage you to carry your weapon as often as possible, the feds, but I probably wouldn't do it if I was going out to actually go clubbing and not just hang out. If I knew I was going to be dancing and drinking, I'd probably leave it in the car. In fact, in Florida, with the concealed carry permit, I'm sure it's different for feds, but with the concealed carry permit, you're not actually allowed to carry your gun in any establishment that's primary business is selling alcohol. So if you go into a TGI Fridays, that's okay because they're a restaurant. But if you go into one that's strictly speaking a bar, and this probably counts for clubs too, you weren't supposed to carry your firearm in it. How you were always supposed to know, you know, that's, I don't know. Obviously, some things are obviously bars and some things are obviously restaurants, but so that was, you were actually, as just a normal citizen carrying a concealed weapon, you weren't even allowed to go into like a club or a bar with a concealed weapon. So not the smartest decision, but definitely sucks. So anyways, yeah, so in the book, so I didn't just want to make any kind of book just because, but the more and more I look at all the books out there, I see that they're either something for total beginners or, and that's pretty much it. They're just all rehashing the same thing. So I was thinking about making a more in-depth general preparedness book. It's not just, this is why you should prepare. Did you know that you can only survive 3 days without water? And, you know, like that. We all know that stuff, but just specifics on like water. Here's all the ways you can store water. Here's the different things you need to consider. And food. Here's the different food storage options. Here's how you would do this. Here's how you can store your food. These are the different things you might want to consider for a bug out bag. You know, this is when you might want to bug out, stuff like that. And yeah, appreciate it, Zach. I'll let you know if I get it. So my question is, comment on this if you think I should do something like that, like a generalized prepping book, but in-depth, but general, or if I should do one that, this is another thing I was thinking of, that doesn't tell you about preparedness in general. It's strictly speaking a reference manual of like, for when something happens. So not to help you prepare ahead of time, but boom, shit hits the fan, you grab this book and you say, how many drops of bleach does it take to purify water? Boom, that's in there. And then you say, oh, how many days does it take for a fucking whatever seed to germinate? Bam, that could be in there. See, how long do I have to boil water to, bam, that stuff. So it's just strictly speaking reference. Do you guys think that one or the other would be better? Do you think both? That's what I want to see, what there's more interest in. Eventually, I'd like to do both. And do you think I should do some kind of like Patreon, not Patreon, but Kickstarter for it, or just go ahead and make it and throw it out there? See which one is more interesting to you guys. I have Prepper's instruction manual on my desk right now. I would say do the first idea. Okay. Thank you, DD Prepper. Thanks, Michael. So yeah, so something to consider. You can also comment on this after, you know, when the video is just up. So like I said, I'm going to take off here in a second. I've got a, just do it like, yeah, when you believe in something. I like all the Nike. What's up, SPQR? I like all the Nike memes that they did, especially the Thanos one. It said, you have to believe in something, even if it means sacrificing half of everything. Land nav, escape evasion. Yeah, I mean, I'll put some land nav stuff in there. I don't want to go too in depth into any particular category because you could write a whole book on any of these subjects, you know, land nav, escape, and those aren't my particular fortes anyway. We obviously had to do land nav, and I'm competent at it, but it's not something that I could write a book about. At least not that would be any more beneficial than any of the other books that are out there. Which is something that, like when someone's reading a book, and most of the prepper books are just kind of they're not really a guidebook. They're just sort of more informational, like why you'd want to be prepping, stuff like that. Make a PowerPoint on land nav. I probably had to do that before. Probably. I had to do some PowerPoints. But yeah, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think. There's a video premiering tomorrow. The first time attempting the premiere thing, so I don't know. But it's about all the mean comments that people leave on my YouTube channels. So, yep, I plan on doing the book. I just don't know exactly what format I'm going to make yet. So, I actually already got my mean comments video demonetized because I have a snippet of a song in there. And luckily what they do now is, back in the day, they used to just like delete the video and mute the audio or something, make it a pop-up book. And delete the audio and everything, or maybe even delete the video and give you a strike. Now they just say, oh, the person who owns this copyright is getting the money from this video. And it's like, all right, they've demonetized all my video or my mean comment videos anyway, so I wouldn't have been making any money off of that one. Doesn't matter. So thanks for watching, guys. I will hopefully see you tomorrow. I should be there to comment on the video when it premieres if I know exactly how this thing's working, but I'm not 100% certain. I think it's going live, if I remember when I scheduled it. Should be noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see how that works. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later.